it's so important because I think people are a bit naive and just we're underinformed. As I said, as dentists, we don't learn a lot about this. We don't have classes on this. We don't, unless we had maybe a parent who was in the financial industry or maybe a mentor who understands this side of the business. We don't really understand taxes. And I know for me, having you and your firm there was really helpful just to kind of bounce those ideas off of. And I think one of the things that I really hope everyone listening can do is, and you touched on it a little bit, the right accountant for you is one who I feel kind of shares your risk tolerance, risk strategy, and your overall approach. Some are very, very conservative, some are very, very aggressive, and some are in the middle. And I think it's important that doctors meet with different accountants, get a feel for where they are in that area, because you don't want an accountant who's going to be obviously reckless and be exposing you to risk. But like you said, you also don't want to be leaving a ton of money on the table if there are legal and allowable deductions that you can take. So you need someone who knows the tax law, understands, especially for dentistry, what tax deductions are there, and then be able to make sure it's in line with your comfort level. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. So it's got to be a good fit on both ends. And trust me, there are plenty of clients that I've had to say farewell to because they were trying to take ridiculous positions to the point where if they were ever audited, they could be put in jail. And clearly, no dentist wants to lose their license by taking positions that are just contrary to what the law is. So any dentist that takes that kind of risk is just looking for trouble. The key here is you want to make sure you're working with a tax professional who understands the law and the parameters of the law, but just simply focuses not on cheating, because that is not tax planning. That's called tax fraud. Cheating is fraud. But wants to make sure you want to make sure you're working with a tax professional who's going to give you every tax deduction and credit available to you under the law, but more importantly, allow you to put yourself in a position to make that a legitimate tax deduction. I often draw a comparison of tax planning is like a chess game against the IRS. And what I mean by that is that if you don't know any of the rules and you don't have somebody coaching you through those rules, your chances of winning that game against the IRS are zero. Just not going to happen. So having the law on your side and then putting yourself in a position and thinking not just one move at a time, but thinking 2, 3, 4 moves ahead of the game, that'll be the best way to set yourself up for success in legally minimizing your tax liability. Then on the other extreme, I've had clients that paid for things and 100% tax deductible. They can't find the receipt. And I say, look, Mr. Smith, Dr. Smith, don't worry about it. Don't sweat the small stuff. If you legitimately spent money on expenses in operating your practice, you don't find the receipt, let's not worry about it. When the time comes, if you're audited, you can always go back to the vendor and get a copy of that receipt. So, even in dentistry, I'm sure you have patients that are one extreme, patients on the other extreme. That's what happens when we deal with the public. My job as an advisor is to find that happy in between things, and we're going to put together a strategy that makes sense, not something that's going to put you on any one of those extreme sides.